Hello. Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Brad.
I'm Miguel, guys.
And we are talking Resident Evil tonight.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
And we're gonna get filthy with each other.
Oh my god! I know.
Okay.
I know you said filthy. Okay, let's get filthy, guys.
I'm
That's
kidding.
our new. That's our new tag. Without a doubt, that's our new hashtag. Ready, guys? Let's get filthy.
We're gonna change the name. Let's get filthy.
Oh my goodness, this podcast. We're on a roll. I'm
We're
sorry,
not off
guys.
to a good start.
No,
Guys,
we've
welcome
been-
back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Miguel.
You're Miguel. Okay. Yep. Nope. This is great. We're off to a great start. My guys, we've been on this. We've been talking to each other for about like an hour. I'm just saying. We've just been
Really
fucking
have been.
around at this point.
We've been
But
bull crapping with each other for an hour straight.
pretty
I'm
much.
opening my beer. It's time.
Yeah, it's all right. What are you drinking tonight?
This I gotta look at the name. Hold on.
Oh, come on. Well, guys, I am drinking a Gatorade and a Country Boy because, as Julia said, I need to respect the local breweries out here.
This is a Rheingeist Wowie. Meet the wild child, our tropical troublemaker with effervescent intentions. This ale pairs bright pineapple with apple and tart passion fruit and sensual caramel.
Wowie. Wowie.
Wowie, right? It's pretty
Yeah.
good. It's got a. I'm not wild about the aftertaste, but it's all right.
Yeah, no one is about local breweries, but it's all good.
It's not bad.
You'd literally pay $8 for like the weird aftertaste. I'm not gonna lie. Everything else just tastes like beer.
That's fine. All right, guys. Tonight we are talking Resident Evil. Jokes aside, this is it's a real, it's a passionate one for me. As much as I'm a Halloween fan and I'm a horror fan, Resident Evil is, it's kind of the reason that I am a movie fan and that I am a horror fan and that I got into all that stuff because I played the Resident Evil games when I was a kid and I got super into them with my dad. That was, still to this day, something that we do. We call each other all the time. He's in the middle of playing through 4 again. I'm playing through 7 for the second time. So
You just like seeing people die at this point. I don't know. Like that's something
Me?
you just like to, yeah.
no,
You big horror people. Horror's all about people dying. Resident Evil's
it's
all
not.
about people dying.
it's not all about people dying. It's about story, man. You got to tell a
Mhm.
good story. That's bottom line. You're telling a good story. Seriously.
I'm just saying. I'm pretty sure you keep a kill count on every single movie you've watched.
No, I don't keep a kill count.
Don't lie to me.
I do not keep a kill count. I like a good story, and you know what? I like it. It's good.
That's fine. I like it too. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about this. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
I like Resident Evil. The only problem is people are gonna be hating me because I liked Resident Evil 6. I thought that had a decent story.
Okay,
Well,
I liked
what
Resident
thinks
Evil
that?
6, but was Resident Evil 6 as good as 4 or 5? No.
Okay, I'm sorry. It had a lot more characters and a lot more
It was good.
stories. Yeah, it was pretty huge, but everybody wants to stick to a singular story. But whatever, I guess. I thought it was dope. But anyways,
I think Resident Evil is not a singular story. Do you know how
Yeah.
many spin-offs there are of that game?
exactly, and that's what Resident Evil 6 was. It was basically like a shit ton of spinoffs that overall compelled into like one singular story. Like they all met up at one point or another, and I thought it
Yeah.
was dope.
I don't know. The thing about Resident Evil 6 is I got too confused with who, like, there was so much going on in 6, like I couldn't keep straight. Like I would play through Leon's, and then by the time I got done with Leon and I went back to do Chris, I was like, I forgot what had happened before. Like it was like, I don't know, there was just too much going on. If they would have done it like they did Lost in Nightmares in 5, where it was like an added like expansion pack thing to the main game, I think that would have been fine. But I don't know. It was fine. I enjoyed 6. I'm wanting to buy the remakes now that they're remaking them. I want to get 2 and 3, and I want to, like, once I beat 7, I want to replay through all of them. That's my goal.
I think they're probably not going to remake 6. I'm not going to lie. They're going to be like, all right, guys.
Well, I think 6 is too new. They're gonna remake 4, which is crazy to me because I feel like 4 is not that old, but it came out in like 2004 or 5.
Well,
So, I
it was on the fucking PlayStation 2. Like that shit got canceled. Like I don't know, last year, right?
PS2.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like the servers went down. You know how like in the storyline, like there's a story out there about Halo. Like I forgot which Halo game it was, but the servers went down. But as long as you were on it, you were still in the servers and you're able to play multiplayer. There was like a group of like 5 friends that stayed on the server and they've been playing,
Oh, really?
every other weekend. That's the biggest.
That's cool.
That's the biggest bro story I've ever heard in my fucking life.
That's pretty
Like
dope.
that's pretty brilliant. So,
dude, you want to get real? You talk about playing COD with people, which I'm never
Okay.
a COD guy. I've never been a Call of Duty guy. I just haven't ever been. I like a game with a story, but you play the Resident Evil Mercenaries with other people online.
is it get bad? Like
It's good. It's fun. It's fun. I used to do it on 5 all the time because like when 5 came out, like do you remember when Resident Evil 5 came out?
I wasn't into Resident Evil at that time. I'm not gonna lie.
I sure was, and it came out like at the same time as the PS3, like when the PS3 dropped. And I remember I had saved money for like a year leading up to it, and I had pre-ordered the game, the gold edition of the game, and we spent like $800 or $900 of like money I had saved up and like Christmas money and just like all kinds of shit. And we bought the PS3 and we bought Resident Evil 5 and 2 controllers. I remember doing it. We went to Lexington and got it.
That was $900.
That was a really big deal to me. I remember that. And then Tinkerbell knocked it off. She walked through the cable. I had the controller plugged up and our dog, she walked through it and knocked it off and broke the PlayStation. So now my parents have a new PlayStation 3.
Oh my god, that's awful.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Tank, man. I miss her.
I know, man. I miss her a lot. I think about her a lot, actually. She was a good
Yeah.
dog, man.
She was, even though she broke your fucking PS3.
That is true. She did break my PS3, but it's okay. It's okay. I forgive you. I love you.
All right, so what are we talking about?
We got a little bit of movie news.
We do?
Which I want to spring on us.
Okay.
Let me get this pulled up. Desktop. All right.
Oh, we screen sharing now. Okay.
We
this
are
man
screen
said we
sharing
weren't
again.
going to screen share this episode, but he decided to. He finally learned how to do it, and I swear to God, it's like one of his new hobbies that he does.
Well, I lied.
Okay.
I lie about these things.
Mm-hmm.
So something that really struck me as interesting. The new news this week is kind of stuff that I just think is either hilarious or really interesting. And one of them was that Steven Spielberg is, and it's the most Steven Spielberg thing I've ever heard in my entire life. He's writing and adapting a coming of age story, like a biopic type thing about his own life.
That sounds pretentious as fuck.
I don't think he is, because from what I understand, it's not necessarily about him. The comicbook.com article, which you're looking at right now, it says Spielberg will direct a project which has Oscar nominee Michelle Williams attached to star. Filming is scheduled to begin this summer. It'll debut next year. The young character won't be named Steven, so it's not, I guess it's not technically Steven Spielberg himself. It's just based on him, and it's set in the 50s and 60s when he was growing up. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I don't really know anything about his life leading up to him being a director. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nobody does. And
I don't really know.
So is this going to be just
God,
like about
you're savage.
Yeah. I mean, no one knows what Spielberg did at a young age. And I don't think anyone fucking cares. No, I'm kidding. People care. But I'm just like, is it going to be just like, how can I put this?
Down.
An adaptation. So it's just going to be about, like, he's going to, like, the movie's going to be about some kid coming of age, becoming a director. But it's not going to be about, but his name's not Steven Spielberg, but it's about Steven Spielberg.
I don't know. Well,
that's him under, like, hiding his pretentiousness. So like, hey, this movie isn't about me, but it's about me. So like I don't like I'll watch it, I'll probably like it, but if I'm not wowed by it, I'm gonna flame this dude so bad.
It's Spielberg, though. Come on.
I don't
I
know.
don't think he's doing it to be pretentious.
Without a doubt, it's pretentious. Hollywood's full of pretentious shits. I'm sorry,
Whatever.
guys.
Anyways, here's what Steven Spielberg had to say. He said, I was infatuated with the control that movies gave me in creating a sequence of events or a feeling, stuff like a train wreck with two Lionel trains that I could then repeat and see over and over again. He told a DGA interview, I think this was just a realization that could change the way I perceived life through another medium to make it come out better for me. I was making these little 8mm rinky-dink movies, and I knew that made me feel really good about my life, and possibly I could bring other people into this amazing medium to enjoy what I was putting together. So I'm not gonna lie, that was a little bit of like an inception moment. So he's making a movie about himself, about his
Making a
life.
movie.
Yeah, it's Steven Spielberg making a movie about him making a movie.
It's like,
But he's also low-key talking about what he would change about his past in his movie. While Steven Spielberg is making a movie, while Steven Spielberg makes a movie inside of a movie.
bro, what?
Bring Leonardo DiCaprio on the show right now. Get Christopher Nolan in the room now.
I don't know. Again, I don't think it'll be fine. I think it'll be amazing. I'm sure.
Steven Spielberg, if you're watching this, which I know you're not. I
Hey,
love
Steven
you, man.
Spielberg,
You are
if you're
literally one of my
watching this-
favorite directors.
But this movie is such a jerk off. Like you're slowly jerking yourself off making this movie. It's basically what it is. But
I disagree
I'm
with you a
sure it'll be
little bit,
great.
But
I'm
it's
sure
all
it'll be
right.
great. Just saying.
But our next story we got here, which blows my freaking mind. Disney Plus announced, a spokesperson from Disney announced that they're planning to release 100 new titles a year. I have really, I don't even know where the hell to begin with that. I will say everything Disney does is fantastic. 98% of what Disney does is fantastic. But 100 a year, I mean, I wonder if that's going to be more quality than or quantity than quality. Honestly,
Probably.
that's the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this. I was like, would
When
you
I
rather
saw
push
that-
out 20 great titles, or would you rather push out 100 like meh? You know?
Yeah. When I
don't know.
read that quote, like this image came in my head. I feel like the Disney execs literally have a wall filled with just titles of Disney movies,
Of stuff they've
Marvel
never made.
people. Yeah, stuff they never made. And they just like have each exec just throw a dartboard. And whatever they hit, they're gonna make a movie out of it. And if two executives hit the same title, they're gonna be like, "Bucket, we're making a sequel then." And they're just gonna keep piling on. That sounds fun as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. That makes me want to work at Disney more now. Like I'm just saying, that sounds fun.
The part that I found interesting is Bob Chapek. I have no idea how to say that, but he's the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. He said that Disney Plus was hopefully planning to release 100 plus. So they're not even talking about stopping at 100. They could keep going past 100 if they really want to. They want to release 100 titles or more every single year through Disney Plus, which surpassed 100 million subscribers, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's cool. But they're also increasing the price by $1. And again, we talked about this a few episodes ago. What episode was that? I don't even know. But when we were talking about the future of the movie theater, the more these streaming services, the more content they put on there, the more expensive it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like in 5 years, we're going to be paying like $30 for Disney Plus, which sounds insane right now. But I think they're going to keep pushing it that much.
It's literally like a frog and like in a pot, and they're like turning up the heat. You know what I mean? Like you can't tell, and like you can't tell it's getting expensive until like next thing you know, you're looking at your monthly statement and you got like $40 at Disney Plus. It's like fucking hell, man. Might as well go back to cable, but then you won't.
Yeah. Well, this article again from Screen Rant comes on Or it goes on to say, in a press release from Disney's annual meeting of shareholders, it was announced that due to the platform's success, Disney has been inspired to be even more motivated in their development, because they're not motivated enough, of original content with a target of 100 titles per year. They confirmed the goal would span most of the content mentioned above, excluding Pixar, which is interesting, creating excitement across the board. And one of the shareholders said the enormous success of Disney Plus, which has now surpassed 100 million subscribers, has inspired us to be even more ambitious and to significantly increase our investment in the development of high quality content. So this is Mr. Chapek, the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. In fact, we set a target of 100 new titles per year, and this includes Disney Animation, Disney Live Action, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic. Our direct-to-consumer business is the company's top priority, and our robust pipeline of content will continue to fuel its growth. I still think that's a lot. Even with Marvel and Star Wars and their animation and the kids stuff and Nat Geo, I think that's a lot. Don't you?
Yes. And honestly, well, it kind of makes sense. I don't know. Marvel, they got Star Wars. They also got all these other Disney princesses and other bullshit. Sorry, it's not bullshit. But I mean, they have enough content to make different stuff. So like I'm almost certain it will be like over 100 plus. I'm not surprised now. Now that I think about it, yeah. I'm not gonna be surprised if they have like over 100 new content coming out every single year.
It won't surprise me. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll do it. And we joke about it, but they'll find a way to do it great because it's Disney. I mean, it's what they do. You know, they'll keep putting out. It's interesting that it doesn't include Pixar. I think that's kind of strange.
What do you mean?
They said that doesn't include Pixar movies. That's just for Disney Plus. Like that's just Disney Plus titles. So like the Marvel shows, the Star Wars shows, which I know they've announced like 8 million Marvel and Star Wars shows. So they're probably going to get close to their benchmark, or at least like a quarter of the way there, just with Marvel and Star Wars.
How about said, you made it sound like they're gonna cut ties with Pixar, and I'm like, that's not good.
No. They're not cutting ties. I mean, they're not going to cut ties with Pixar, but that 100 plus titles excludes them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Something else I wanted to talk about real quick. I laughed my ass off for about 20 minutes when I saw this. Did you see that the Snyder Cut accidentally dropped early on HBO Max? Well, you know the circumstances, right? Like what happened?
So like I know that. So Tom and Jerry was supposed to. It was on HBO Max, but then like when people like tuned into HBO Max, it turned out to be like the Snyder Cut.
I don't know. I picture a little kid watching Tom and Jerry, and this is not funny at all, but it kind of is. Like I picture like a family watching Tom and Jerry on their couch, and then suddenly it cuts to like bloody Batman or like the Joker doing something crazy. Like I don't know. It just I think that's hilarious.
I think it's just a pretty like shitty thing for Warner Bros. To do. I think they're like,
somebody got fired. Well,
I think they did that on purpose to like mess with Zack Snyder, because they low key like I feel like they don't want.
They do hate Zack Snyder, man.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of talk about that lately, about like how crappy it was with just I like Zack Snyder. You know what I mean? I think his movies are he's a really unique filmmaker. I mean, he remade Dawn of the Dead. That's another thing. We're talking about Resident Evil and zombies and all that stuff tonight. His remake of Dawn of the Dead from 2004, it's one of the best movie remakes ever. And we talked about that in the remake episode. Have you seen that?
Dawn of the Dead.
It's the remake of George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead from 1974.
I probably have seen it, but
it's honest to God one of the best movie remakes ever. He's got a new zombie film coming out called Army of the Dead, and that's going to be on or I think it's Army of the Dead, something like that.
Yeah, I think
on
I heard
Netflix.
About that.
Yeah.
It looks kind of dope.
He's got a real passion for zombie stuff, which I really appreciate because I'm a big zombie fan. But yeah, I know a lot happened with Joss Whedon and
Which, don't get me wrong, Josh Whedon's a pretty spot on director, because he did a decent job with Age of Ultron.
I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't until I didn't realize that. I don't know how. I didn't realize he directed Age of Ultron until the other day.
You're dumb as hell.
I know I am. I just it like I don't know if I just blocked that out of my mind or what, but
That's the reason everyone was hyped for Justice League, because when they found out Zack Snyder was like canned from the Justice League and they found out Josh Whedon was in it, they're like, "Oh my god, this is great. Like Marvel's gonna take over DC as well, and it's gonna be bomb." And then no, it like legitimately bombed in the box office, or it just sucked in general.
I don't know. I feel bad for Zack Snyder, because I mean, the dude, look at what he went through.
I don't
know
what he went through.
You don't?
No.
You don't know what happened with Zack Snyder?
I just know that he got canned. That's it. And he was pissed.
His daughter died. One of his
daughters
like died. I believe. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that, but one of his daughters died. I'm not completely 100% sure about the circumstances, but she died as they were filming it. And I mean, obviously, the guy's got to go be with his family. I mean, screw the movie. I mean, he did the right thing. He did what any good father would do. He went and he was there for his family. But I don't know why he got so much crap from Warner Brothers about it. But I mean, they don't want, like, it kind of feels like they're going out of their way just to like spite him. You know what I mean? And I know they're doing the Snyder Cut thing, but they're doing the Snyder Cut and they're releasing that on HBO Max because they know it's going to make money.
Mm-hmm.
They know that people are subscribing to HBO Max just to see that.
Yeah.
And especially like this week leading up to it. I mean, we're filming this on the 12th, Friday the 12th right now. I mean, it comes out a week from today. You know what I mean? When this episode drops, when you all are probably listening to it, it's coming out in 5 days. Like, and we can finally watch the Snyder Cut. So like, people are going to be subscribing to HBO Max for that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get why he gets all the hate that he gets. I think he's a unique filmmaker. I think he's a good filmmaker. And I think he did what any good father would do in stepping away and saying, like, I have other things to worry about besides the superhero movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I don't know. I'm not going to get into all of the Joss Whedon stuff. I know that
he did a pretty terrible job with Justice League.
He did do a terrible job. I will say that. I hated that movie. I've seen it one time and I have zero desire to rewatch it ever again.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I really don't.
I've only seen bits and pieces. I've literally seen the ending of Justice League like probably more times than.
It didn't really interest me when it came out. I don't know why. It just didn't.
Because people are already protesting. That's why. Like the second they found out Zack Snyder was canned, like he like said something like, "Oh, like the movie's not going to be the same." Just to let you guys know, and people were pissed. So like whenever the movie came out, they're like, the bar is already set really low, and then it's still underperformed. So it's like,
well, I remember.
So now that's when the whole release the Snyder Cut campaign came out.
Well, I remember reading the reviews and stuff and being like, well, I don't know, maybe I'll go see it because who the hell knows? Maybe it'll be great. And I never cared to go see it. And then probably about a year and a half ago, it might have been after everything shut down and everybody was at home, like March, April, May of 2020. I think it was on TV and I recorded it and I sat down and watched it and I was like, wow, this is terrible. Like it felt campy the entire time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because in Age of Ultron, it pretty much was a how do I say? It was Age of Ultron was probably the most unserious movie in the Marvel franchise, or for the Avengers. You know what I mean? So like, I knew that.
I guess I could agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, so from what I'm looking at right here on Rotten Tomatoes, it got a 40%, but the audience score it got a 71%. So the audience still liked it to a certain degree.
Josh Whedon's Justice League?
No, yes. But let me see if I can find.
And you know, there's a whole lot of people who are like, "Oh, the Snyder Cut's not going to be anything different." Look at the runtime. Justice League, the Joss Whedon's theatrical Justice League was probably what, 2 hours, close to 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, give or take.
Yeah.
This is I mean, it's like 4 hours split up into 6 parts. I mean, like, it's gonna be a different movie. They went back and reshot. Of course, you're gonna have some recycled stuff from the theatrical cut because
No, he said nothing from the original is in there.
really,
Yeah, I think
I thought
I
there would be
read
a
that.
couple of recycled like scenes. I'm not talking like major 20-minute ordeal scenes. I'm just talking like shots. I figured there'd be like some of the same shots in there.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, I think it's gonna be like night and day in regards to comparisons to how the Zack Snyder cut's gonna be. And
Probably.
someone said in the reviews, they said they are no match for the Avengers when it comes to entertaining us. The Marvel bunch fizz with energy and wit. This lot are far too dark and brooding, too much fun, and they spend much ages hanging around before we get to the action.
Mm.
They spend a lot of times talking to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I remember watching the theatrical cut of Justice League for the first time. I do remember this now. It was like by the time you get to the climax of the movie and it's the big battle, I didn't care anymore. I was just like, okay, whatever. And then you get there and the CGI is so terrible and like the lines are so terrible. I was just like, okay. You know what I mean? Like I didn't care. And I know like I'm not one of those people that because there are people who think that every superhero movie has to be serious. Like you have like Infinity War or Deadpool. Like there's no, you know what I mean? Like there's no in between. And I know there can be an in between of serious versus like funny and campy and ridiculous on purpose. But I just felt like Justice League, like they just missed the mark, man, with the theatrical cut. So I'm every trailer and TV spot we've gotten for the Snyder cut, it looks serious. It looks well done. It looks legit. You know what I mean?
I think it's weird that we haven't seen any of the Justice League. You know what I mean? You only see them how do I say? Um you only see them like in the top of that fuck whatever the fuck it is, on the top of the thing when they're like at the end and they're hanging out. I've only seen like Darkseid, the Joker, and Steppenwolf. It's like they're only trying to show like all the
Yeah.
villains.
Well, I
So
think they're
I hope
trying to do that on purpose too.
I don't know what the reason is, but I hope to God that
I
they're
think it's
different.
I think it's A to show how different it's going to be from the theatrical cut, and B, they're probably trying to save a whole bunch of different things for, um, they don't want to give it away. So I don't know. I don't know, but I mean, I think it's funny on Warner Brothers that it released early because I screw them for being that way to Zack Snyder. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I
pretty
know
much.
they're letting this go through, but I don't think they're letting this go through because like there wasn't some big change of heart at Warner Brothers where they were like, you know what? We're gonna give we're gonna give him his shot. We're gonna let him do this thing. I think they were like, we're gonna make bank off of this. So let's do it. I really do. That's from everything I've read and everything I've heard and everything I've watched, that's the vibe I get. And again, not hating on Warner Brothers. I'm just saying I think Zack Snyder deserves a shot, and I'm glad he's going to get it.
I do too. So again, I'm excited to see it, and I'm sure we're gonna do a review on that movie,
Oh,
and
we
I
will.
will 100% compare it to Josh Whedon's. I don't care how different they're claiming it's gonna be. I'm gonna compare it.
Yeah, we will. All right, a little bit more movie news before we wrap up here. We have got some interesting Spider-Man news that you and I speculated on back all the way back in episode 2 months ago when we were just starting.
Mm-hmm.
This comes from that hashtag show. I wasn't familiar with this prior, but I believe they broke the story, and since then, I've seen it a couple other places too that I trust, and I tend to get my movie news and my sources. They had an exclusive story, story that Sony and Marvel are splitting Spider-Man into two separate franchises of yours truly, Peter Parker and Miles Morales.
So who's gonna get what?
I know. I feel like it's like the I don't know. It's really weird. I feel like
Like,
mom and dad are gonna start fighting again. That's the. I
and
hope I
what's
hope
even
they
worse
just
is that the
work
kids
out
are
a
going to be
deal.
separated too. Jesus.
I just hope they work out a deal and that everything is fine. Which, from what we've heard, they are fine now. And they're whatever happened before with like Sony not wanting to give up the rights, but Spider-Man was in the MCU, and you can't just like forget he was there. I hope they got all of that figured out and ready to go. Um, but yeah, so basically,
Okay, so from what I got right there in that title, it says like Miles Morales is headed to the MCU. I'm almost certain what's going to happen is that Peter Parker is going to go back to Sony, and then Miles Morales is going to come to the MCU. I
yeah.
don't know how. I don't know how. Again, at this point, I'm like, you know how we usually can make like a theory because they're in their studio. This is like out of the ballpark because like it's coming from two different
Mm,
studios. Like one could take the other, so it's kind of hard to see like where it's gonna go. So like I don't know. I don't know how Miles Morales is gonna come into play. He's never been introduced except for Childish Gambino's like mention of him. But I'm just like I don't know how this is gonna pan out. I'm not
well,
gonna lie.
there were a couple of interesting things that came out of this article. Uh, um, they seem to be pretty confident in the fact that we are set to see the Spider Verse and that is going to happen. We've said that for, I mean, literally since last December. When it was rumored that Sony was going to drop that preview and then they didn't, and then Sony Brazil or wherever it was had said like your Christmas gift from Marvel is going to be all three Spider-Mans in the same movie or something like that. There's going to be a Spider Verse in some form. But a couple of interesting things that hit me. They bring up that Spider-Man: Homecoming made $880 million. Far From Home made 1.1 billion. They're not going to lose money over Spider-Man. There is no scenario where Marvel or Sony loses money over this property. So I almost wonder if they're doing this because they know how much of a moneymaker it is. And they've worked out this deal because now, like, with Into the Spider-Verse, like the animated film,
Mm-hmm.
and how well that did, I think that kind of sparked this idea of like, well, I guess we need to get Miles Morales in there. I still like what we had talked about in episode 2, where you have, Homecoming, Far From Home, and now No Way Home, which is like the high school years. So there's your high school trilogy. Then you have the college trilogy, and then you have an adult trilogy. And I'm almost I'd be fine with waiting to introduce Miles until either the college trilogy or the adult trilogy. I think that would make a little bit more sense story wise. Um, but again, they bring up something kind of interesting too, is that Tom Holland's getting older. I mean, he's going to be 25 this year. Um, John Watts, who's been directing the Spider-Man movies, he's been hired to direct Fantastic Four, which I know we're still a little bit out from that. They're just now, we learned a few weeks ago, they are they're just now beginning to like find writers to draft a script. They don't even have a script for Fantastic Four yet. Um, but that'll be a big project for him. But my thing with John Watts leaving the Spider-Man franchise as the director, you have Sam Raimi. Think about this. You have Sam Raimi, who's already directed 3 Spider-Man movies. Keep that in mind, because he did the Tobey Maguire trilogy. He's directing the Multiverse of Madness. You could bring Sam Raimi in to direct the next. Hell, you could do the next 6 Spider-Man movies with him if he's willing to. Which I think he would be, especially with the Spider-Verse happening and Tobey and Andrew coming back. I think he would be down to do that. Don't you?
I don't think. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Sam Raimi did a great job with the old Spider-Man trilogy. Oh hell, but sorry, but
What the hell was that?
oh, that was me catching. That was like me getting choking on this beer. But with John Watts leaving, and I mean, Spider-Man. How old was Tobey Maguire when Spider-Man came out. But then again, that was like during his college years, I guess. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say he was in his mid-20s, late 20s,
Yeah.
maybe.
And Sam Raimi did Spider-Man in high school, Spider-Man in college, and Spider-Man graduated.
I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But this kind of maybe puts a wrench in that a little bit. I mean, they go on to say, we have exclusively learned that Marvel and Sony will take Tom Holland Spider-Man franchise and spin off a separate Miles Morales Spider-Man franchise, which means splitting it in two. They're splitting those rights in two. And, you know, they're saying, their sources are saying that Miles is going to be in the MCU. You know, you're not going to have Tom Holland's Peter Parker in the MCU and Miles Morales in this Sony verse, you know, especially with the multiverse happening. And I think we're going to start seeing them cross. You know, they're both going to be in the MCU. The other thing that really interested me was that Miles will be a part of the Young Avengers.
Fair.
I get that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you think, what do you think the chances are of the next Avengers film being a Young Avengers film?
Probably not. I think that would be its own separate movie. If that makes sense. Because the only Young Avenger that they have is, well, hell, it's Peter Parker and Miles Morales.
I would agree with that. I think that's thinking too small for the next Avengers movie. You know what I mean? Because you got to think Endgame, leaving off at Endgame versus a Young Avengers movie. I don't know. I don't think it'd be as interesting.
No, not at all. And you have people like Nova coming, which if they're gonna do the Young Nova and then the Miss Marvel, that could happen. Because everyone else has been introduced that's new in regards to being a superhero already, like decently, like, you know, they're mid-age, I guess, if that makes sense.
Right.
There isn't many young superheroes in there yet. So like they would have to build that first. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I understand that. They also said another interesting tidbit here is that they've heard reports that Spider-Man 4 will film back-to-back with No Way Home. You know, when they go on to say they've yet to corroborate it, you know, who knows? That's interesting too. Again, where are they going moving forward? I think that's going to be the key is where do you go after No Way Home? If you really establish the Spider-Verse, what's after that? How do you top that? And that's going to be their issue. And I you know, I don't know, maybe throwing Miles into the mix is their way of trying to top that. You know what I mean? I don't think Miles is going to have a big role in No Way Home. If he is in No Way Home, I don't think he'll have a really large role because that'd be weird to me. Like, you know, throwing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in, we have an emotional connection to those characters and to those actors playing those characters.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big deal for us. But throwing Miles in with a new actor that we've never gotten a live action adaptation of, it would be kind of strange. You know what I mean? It'd be weird.
But it's anticipated. Everyone's down for it. I'm ready to see Miles Morales. I'm curious to see who they're going to play.
Yeah, I feel that. They also go on at the end of the article to say that both Marvel and Sony are worried about having two Spider-Man franchises, and they don't want to confuse, you know, the general audience members, which is why.
What do they think? The general audience is dumb? Nah, they're gonna know the difference. Obviously,
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I think this. I want to see Miles Morales. I do, but they just gotta plan that out like far in advance, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like you said in the first one of our like first episodes, like you need to let Miles like grow up so we can become attached to him,
right?
So that we're hyped to see him get the powers.
If they're gonna throw him in, he doesn't need to have powers in No Way Home. And if he does get powers, he needs to get it like in a post-credit scene. I don't think they need to spend a big chunk of No Way Home showing Miles, because that's not, no offense to that character, that's not what we're there for. You know what I mean? At least for me, that's not what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. Last little bit of tidbit here before we get to Resident Evil. We're on your website here.
We're back, guys.
On GodzillaMovies.com.
This has been my website since Godzilla 2014 came out. When this website came out, I liked it immediately, and I started following it every single day, and I love it. This is the best source for Godzilla information. So, what you got for me,
guys? I will post these links in the comments below. And if you're listening on Spotify, just head over to our YouTube. Let's Talk Movies, and we will. I'll have those links posted there if you want to check these images out. So, we've speculated for months that Mechagodzilla is going to be in Godzilla vs. Kong. We've heard rumors. We've seen leaked images. We've heard leaked roars. We've known for months, and now it's been made official because we got the toy. So here's your first look at the Mechagodzilla toy. It's a listing on Walmart's website. It's the Playmates toy. It's a 6-inch Mechagodzilla figure. Costs a little under $10. Not bad.
Hey man, back then I couldn't afford $10. That shit was expensive for me. Just saying.
The interesting thing is that they're already in some Walmart locations.
Are they really?
Yeah, like US locations. I don't know why, because I feel like I'm excited for Godzilla vs. Kong, but I'm going to go ahead and say something here. I think they're dropping way too much footage of that movie.
I mean, no, they did the same thing with Godzilla King of the Monsters.
I know, honestly. But I think they're giving away way too much. Like Mechagodzilla, I mean, we've kind of known. I guess it's not that big of a deal, but they've given away a lot of information about that in those TV spots.
Yeah. They just shot a lot of. I mean, it's like we were pretty spot on with that. As soon as they were able to find the place that they're going to release it, they just started dropping marketing stuff left and right.
They really did. So, which is, it's fine. I know they needed to. Think about it. Their marketing campaign didn't start until January, and the movie's releasing in March. I mean, usually you have a 6 or 7 month window to do your marketing campaign. So they're trying to hype it up. I get it. It's just been a lot. But checking out these images, what do you think of the design? I know this is a 6-inch toy, so it's not. I mean, obviously, this is not going to be 100% what Mechagodzilla is going to look like. I think it's interesting looking. It's very different. Let me zoom in here.
Holy shit, you can zoom in here. Damn. I got a Dell. I got a Dell laptop. Over here
I got this brand new MacBook that I just bought for $1,000.
Pretentious. Okay, sorry, what? Anywho.
That's your word of the night, is pretentious.
It is. I learned it an hour ago.
Steven Spielberg is pretentious. I'm pretentious. Who isn't pretentious, Miguel? Who isn't pretentious?
Godzilla.
Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the design?
He looks like, I'm not gonna lie, it looks like they're designing him the design is similar to not only Godzilla but also King Kong, if you think about it. Do you see it? I kind of see it.
What do you mean, his face, the body structure and stuff?
Yeah, the body structure, the face, the arms, all of it. I mean, overall, it is a Mechagodzilla, but it looks like it's ready to take down King Kong too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because it's ready for both of them, not just Godzilla. Yeah,
exactly.
I feel that.
So it's like a this is stupid to say, a Mecha Godzilla, but King Kong.
Yeah, here's a closer up.
Yeah, because see the arms. Godzilla's arms are not that big.
Well, the other thing that interests me is the hands. It's got those weird. It's like a 4 grappling hook hand thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So
it's very strange.
This is the most. How can I say? This design is so different from all the other Mechagodzillas. I'm not gonna lie, and it's sad for me to say this right now, but Steven Spielberg did a better job.
What?
You know what I mean?
Have you never? Spielberg.
Yeah, have you never seen Ready Player One?
No.
Okay, so in Ready Player One, sorry, spoiler alert. They introduced.
What the hell are you talking about?
They introduced a Mechagodzilla. like the that movie is pretty much all about like a virtual game where you could be whatever you want. And
Okay.
one of the things, one of the characters they brought back was Mechagodzilla. I'm not gonna lie, that design was fucking fire. It was like in reference to the Mechagodzilla 1, and that looked dope as hell.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna lie, they could have did a little bit better. But obviously we're looking at like a fucking,
Right.
toy thing.
We're looking at a 6-inch toy. What do you think of the red spine? What's the point of all the red?
I don't know. That's probably just something there. That's probably just something.
I'm
What's it
probably
called?
thinking too much about it, and I'm like, oh, I don't know.
It
They're
says
probably
battle
like, that
damage,
looks cool. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. There's a picture of the front. The face is kind of awkward. Hello.
Yeah, that's probably that's
What you
just probably
looking
the
at me
material
for?
they had.
Why are you looking at me? But and then we have this little kid playing with him.
Literally, I'm not gonna lie. That's the worst picture I've ever seen in my life. It's like literally a kid. He's like, "Yes, this is nice.
But they
I
also
have
have
a
the 11-inch
Godzilla."
version. Same thing, but it's the 11-inch. So
I don't know. I mean, it looks dope, but I mean, you can't judge the actual design based on a fucking Bandai toy. Wait, is it Bandai or is it? I don't
um,
know.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, you
Honestly, I
can't
don't
judge it
remember.
off like a 10-year-old toy. So, again, like, and I've seen like the leaked pictures. That looks baller. The
I've
leaked
seen a
pictures look
couple,
pretty
but
dope,
nothing crazy, crazy.
and the roar that they had, sick as fuck. I'm not gonna lie,
Mm,
that was pretty dope.
yeah,
So, like, I'm pretty hyped to see it all happen.
right.
I just want to see it, and I hope he gets more than 15 minutes of screen time.
I'm gonna be pissed if we've speculated this and he's on screen for like 5 minutes at the end. Like,
Exactly.
I want to see Godzilla and Kong fight Mechagodzilla. I have to. Like, I know they're saying like there'll be a definitive winner. One is gonna win. One will fall. I want to see the two of them fight him. I really do.
I agree,
You know,
and I think Mechagodzilla is gonna kick one of them down.
probably.
Yeah. You know what I keep thinking? I keep thinking it's like when like Godzilla has King Kong pinned down on the ground and they're like yelling at each other.
Yeah.
I feel like the scene's gonna play like this. Like they're all yelling at each other. Then all of a sudden Mechagodzilla's gonna like come out of nowhere. They're gonna be like,
Yeah, you're right.
If you guys saw my hand, you'll understand. Like they're yelling at each other, and all of a sudden Mechagodzilla comes out and they close, and they're like, "Oh shit,
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
we
They
gotta
look at
point at
him,
them."
they look at him, and then they look at each other, and then they look back at him, and then they're like, and then they got to get up and go.
Yeah, pretty much. I can see that happening. And
You know what's
honestly,
gonna be fucking hilarious is
what?
if so G and Kong fight, and then what you just said, they see Mecha, and then they go and they fight Mecha, and then after they kill Mecha, the two of them start fighting again.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I want? Like, oh my god, I feel like it was pretty dope because they make Godzilla like he has like emotions. Like you can see his emotions. Like I
Yeah,
want to see like in this movie, I want to see Godzilla just like be done. You know what I mean? He's
like
done
he just
so
doesn't care
much.
anymore. He's just
Yeah,
ready to.
like I want to see his face just be like he's so serious and he sees all this shit happen. He's just like, ugh, again, and just goes back because he's gone through a lot and just two movies. So like, I just want to see that. I want to see
Yeah,
Godzilla with more emotions because I feel like it'd be hilarious to see. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
I agree. All right, let's talk some Resident Evil.
Okay,
You
what
down?
do we got? I'm down.
Let's do it. So
Down like a clown.
few days ago, one of the actors, honestly, I forget what character he's playing. I'm not gonna lie. But on Twitter, he released a trailer, or not a trailer. I'm so stupid. He really he released a poster, teaser poster. Couple of cool things were on that poster. Got me pretty hyped. September 3rd, we got a release date. Resident Evil is coming out September 3rd of this year. Couple of interesting things about the poster. We had all of the names. We had Leon Kennedy's name, Jill Valentine's name, both Chris and Claire Redfield, Ada Wong, Richard Aiken, William Birkin. Albert Wesker, just the names of basically all the stars, Bravo team, Bravo and Alpha team, and Leon and Ada, and a couple of other ones we meet in Raccoon City. Um, you know, as I said before, I'm a huge zombie fan. The Romero films, um, Return of the Living Dead, that series, and Resident Evil, World War Z, 28 Days Later. I'm a big zombie fan, and I attribute that to Resident Evil. I fell in love with this game series when I was a kid, and I'm still in love with this game series. I have been for years. It's been it's the thing that got me into horror. Um, I'm excited for this movie because have you seen all of the Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil movies
The one with like Mia
with
Malkovich.
Milla Jovovich? Yeah,
Okay, I keep fucking up her name. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I've seen them, and they're alright for what they are.
they
But
are all
I
right.
just know that they literally gutted the actual Resident Evil. That makes
The
sense.
game, yeah.
Yeah, they
Well,
totally gutted it.
I mean, I own the entire Paul W.S. Anderson series. I like it. I really enjoy the first three. The last three, I'm like, they're okay. At that point, we were so far gone from the games that I was just like, okay, I'm along for the ride. Like at this point, it's like I hopped on this train. I'm gonna finish it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you
But
mean.
they were still fun. It was fun. Horror action movies. Milla Jovovich was awesome. I loved her in that role, and it was cool how she got that role. Her brother played the video games, and she used to play Resident Evil with her brother. So when that audition came up, she got the audition. She got Alice, and then she married Paul W.S. Anderson. She's married to the guy who made the Resident Evil movies.
Oh, that explains a lot. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
they're married. I like the movies for what they were. I'm excited for this Johannes Roberts version because of a couple of things that he's said. Johannes Roberts, I checked out his IMDb. If you want to look him up on IMDb, Miguel, he did the 47 Meters Down series. That was the only thing I've ever heard of him doing. He has a couple. He does have 7 or 8 other films on there. I have never heard of him other than that. And the cast, again, it's an interesting choice for the cast. Kaya Solidario, I apologize if I'm saying her name wrong. I'm excited for her to be in the cast. I think she's a great actress. I liked her in the last Pirates of the Caribbean film. But I'm interested to see how this cast and how this crew and how these writers handle Resident Evil, because
Video game adaptations suck. That's why.
Yeah, most of the time they really do, and I think they're trying to cram a whole lot in this movie. If I have one fear for Resident Evil, it's that they're going to try to cram way too much into one movie.
Yes.
Quite a while ago, Johannes Roberts told Screen Rant that the reboot would be super, super scary and faithful to the games. Okay, that's good. I want to see super scary. I want to see survival horror. That's what Resident Evil is. In my opinion, Resident Evil is the greatest survival horror game of all time. I want to see that come to life on the big screen. He also told Deadline, I really wanted to go back to the original first 2 games and recreate the terrifying, visceral experience I had when I first played them, whilst at the same time telling a grounded human story about a small, dying American town that feels both relatable and relevant to today's audiences. Again, interesting.
Yeah.
He seems like somebody who has a passion for the games, who played through the games. And that's good. I'm not gonna lie, I'd be pissed if there was a director who had never really played the games and was just like, oh, I know a little bit about Resident Evil. You know what I mean? Like that's screwed up. You don't need to be adapting it if you don't know anything about it.
Exactly. That's why Godzilla King of the Monsters succeeded so well, because Michael Daughtry, if I'm not mistaken, the director, he was a Godzilla fan. So whenever he recreated all these monsters. Like, I mean, he stayed true to the nature. He knew exactly what these monsters were and how their mythology connected with one another. So that's why it succeeded really
Right.
well.
Yeah, and what he said excites me. I'm excited to have it more of that, the visceral, scary, alone in the dark type feel. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
that's what Resident Evil needs to be. The only reason I brought up him not really having like a big, resume basically, and that the actors that they chose being, not, more not. I don't even know.
Not known. They're like
They're
I
not
how can
as
I put
well
this?
known as
Yeah,
actors
they're
that they
like
could have chosen. You know what I mean?
they're
And
like
that's fine.
B-list
That's
actors.
fine. That's
Yeah.
completely fine. I'm okay with that. I'm just curious to see what they bring to the table.
Hmm.
Um,
It's like Mortal Kombat. Like Mortal Kombat has a lot of promise, but is filled with a lot of B actors. Except for Scorpion. I'm glad they casted a old boy that's playing Scorpion. He's a little
yeah,
old, I'm not gonna lie, but my god, he fucking straight up
yeah.
kills
I'm not
it.
gonna lie. This is off topic. The Mortal Kombat trailer. The first time I watched it, I was really like, okay, whatever. It actually looks pretty good.
Yeah,
It looks
I
pretty
think
dope.
so. I think it looks dope.
I'm down to see it.
Hmm.
Um,
I just hate that they missed so many opportunities because Shang Tsung, the one who plays Shang Tsung, isn't the one who voice actors it and plays as and Mortal Kombat. And they had
mm,
such a missed opportunity with that.
yeah.
Raiden looks a little weird. Everyone else, I mean, they kind of fit their part. And I don't know. It looks interesting. And like I said, that's a video game adaptation. It's not a movie
Right.
adaptation.
Right. Right.
So like it'll be interesting to see how those two, like, I'm gonna judge how the future of these game adaptations are based on Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil. I know Uncharted is coming out.
Yeah.
I'm still hesitant on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see once the trailer drops. But going back to the poster that dropped a couple of days ago, which prompted us to want to talk about this in this
Yeah.
week's episode, um, they name dropped a whole lot. And the poster looks really good. It's got the forest, which alludes to the Arklay Mountains, which of course is where Raccoon City is located. Um, and then it had that red backdrop, which is similar to. Have you seen the Resident Evil 4 poster with that same the red backdrop with the
No.
trees and stuff? I don't think it's alluding to that. It's cool looking. But they name dropped a whole lot on that poster. We had Leon Kennedy, which everybody knows is, a Raccoon City. He's a rookie cop. The zombie outbreak happened on his first day. What a crappy first day.
I still think that's absolutely hilarious. Oh boy,
It
with
is pretty
his
funny.
swoopy hair, like, oh my god, I'm just gonna drive my car and just give tickets. Nah, bro, you double tapping zombies to the temple for the rest of your life now.
Yeah. But we had Leon, Jill was on the poster, Claire, Chris, Brad Vickers, Ada, Richard Aiken, William Birkin, Albert Wesker. Chief Irons was on the picture. Brian Irons, which is interesting.
What the hell is Irons?
He's
I'm not gonna
the
lie.
police chief of the Raccoon City Police Department, and Umbrella was bribing him. You found this out in Resident Evil 2. Umbrella was bribing him to keep all of their illegal shit that they were doing, like in and around Raccoon City with all of their like viral testing and stuff, a secret.
Mhm.
So they were bribing him to keep all of that a secret and just to kind of like sweep that under the rug. But my biggest question, and again, my biggest fear is we've dropped all these names. These characters are a blend of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2. Of course, Resident Evil took place at the mansion, and Resident Evil 2 took place during the Raccoon City outbreak. There's 2 months in between the mansion incident and the Raccoon City outbreak. So my big question is, when the hell is this movie going to take place? Because that's a lot. I mean, we know it's been confirmed it's going to take place in 1998, just like the games did. So they're going to go back to the 90s, which is cool. I'm down for that. I think that's pretty cool. But that's a lot of ground to cover. You know what I mean? Especially when you get into all the creatures and all the the lore and the mythology behind Umbrella and what, Wesker deceiving Alpha Team and what led Alpha Team in the woods and all the cannibalistic murders happening in the mountains. I mean, it's just like, it's so much. And my fear is like, are they going to try to cram way too much into one movie, or are they going to leave out stuff that is really important and like, detrimental to the franchise? I mean, what do you think?
I think, look, yeah, I hope they don't. I'm not gonna lie, because I like the story of Resident Evil.
I think it's a
Like all,
fantastic
like
story.
yeah,
That's what's drawn me to it. I think is because the story is so damn good.
yeah, I agree. And it's just things that happen with adaptations. Like they just want to like
They
zoom things
rush
up.
it.
Like why is that a thing now? Like
I don't know.
MCU again, like we're gonna fucking talk about MCU again, but it's like they did it right. They took their time. They just need to take their time with this. If we want to see it, we will see it, but in time. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean Iron Man was successful, but it didn't smash the box office.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken. I don't think it did, but it wasn't like a stellar movie. No one was like expecting that whole universe to be open. So like just start small. Like I don't know why people don't want to start small with this. They just want to blow it up and like just make this big thing. And next thing you know, it's too much and it's too much to handle. And then we're like, well, like what's the point of making any other movies when you just blew over so many like important information? Because like I feel like most of the like information that we're gonna see, most of the things we're gonna see in this movie, I hope it's not the case, but it'll be like, have you seen that meme where it's like from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt are like watching TV and they're like, oh, 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 oh. You know what I mean?
No.
You know?
No.
Okay, guys, you probably know what I'm talking about. But it's literally gonna be like that. Like they're gonna mention something or be like, oh, 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 I know what
I
that's
still
about.
haven't seen that movie, by the way.
You got to see it now because that joke just
I do
just
need to.
flew right
It's on my
past your
list.
head. But yeah, it's pretty much gonna be like that. Like they're gonna mention the Easter egg, and I'm like, oh, I know what that means, and then it's just gonna be it. They're
Yeah.
not gonna expand on it. They're not gonna tell more of it. They're just gonna be like, oh, there it is. All right, now we're moving on to other shit. It's gonna be. I hope it's not filled with Easter eggs. I hope they actually build these stories.
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah, and that's one thing I don't want. I don't want I want this to be a serious adaptation of the games. I don't want to see 2 hours of fan service
Yes.
because
Oh my god, that's the best way I could hear about it. Yeah.
as much as I love the Paul W.S. Anderson movies, the first three, I think they kind of took themselves seriously. The last three, there was so like, even characters. Look at Leon and Chris.
Yeah, I
I
was
could
like,
have done without either one of them in the movie. It like they were just there to be there, and I'm sorry, especially Leon. Leon, I hated Leon in the movies. I gotta say that, and I again, I'm not one to speak ill of Paul W.S. Anderson's movies because they were okay in my book. No, they didn't follow the games, but they were fun. Like I said, you were along for the ride at that point. If you had followed them since day one, like when the final chapter came out, I was like, this isn't going to be amazing, but like, I still
yeah,
went and saw it. You know what I mean? Because it was
yeah.
like, I'm here. But I don't want it to be 2 hours of fan service. I mean, look at the story. You have the murders happening in the mountains. Then
Mhm.
you have Bravo team going to investigate that. Then you have Alpha team going to find Bravo team when
I
the
love how
dog
they
gets.
I love how they were like, all right, some murders are happening up there. It's kind of sketch. Let's send
Then
Bravo
Bravo
team.
instead of Alpha.
Yeah, like let's just send them. Let's send them because they're gonna. We already know they're gonna die. Let's send our second class team,
Ooh,
and then we'll send our first tier. Yeah,
these victims seem like they were eaten. Oh, send Bravo. Don't
yeah,
send Alpha.
yeah. We need to keep our alpha for a little bit.
Talk about eating people. Send them.
Yeah,
um, but you have that. You have Alpha finding the mansion and finding out about Umbrella owning it, and the lab, and Wesker betraying them. Um,
I hope they don't
and
do Wesker. I
I
hope they
don't know,
don't blow
man.
Wesker because I'm not gonna lie, Wesker in the older Resident Evil movies, he wasn't the best. You know what I mean?
No, he was fine. But again, he was just there to be there. I didn't care about his character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm worried about them just shoving so much stuff into this movie that it's going to become meaningless, like the end of the Paul W.S. Anderson series.
Pretty
And I
much.
don't want that, because I mean the games, that's something, and I think that's why Resident Evil has lasted so long and why we have 8 about to come out, plus this new movie, plus 2 new CGI shows on Netflix, plus the other spin-offs we're getting, is because they've taken their time, just like you were talking about with the MCU and Iron Man. They've taken their time. Like, they've done the main storyline, and all of their spin-offs like fill in the gaps of like what happened in between the games. Or I mean, shoot, look at, I think there are 5 or 6 video games that take place like during the Raccoon City outbreak.
Yeah, and
Like
like the
all of those games. I mean, you have one, or Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, both outbreaks, Operation Raccoon City. I mean, that's 5 right there that all take place like simultaneously. You know what I mean? That's an intricate story right there. You know, and they weave in and out of each other. That's important. I think they need to consider that.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles was pretty dope for me, even though it
That's
wasn't
another
like,
one, yeah.
yeah, and that pretty much told like what happens like Umbrella during all of this
Right.
crap, and it was actually pretty dope. We got to play as Wesker too for a while over there,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually liked the storyline of Wesker because he is such a two-faced little shit. I
He really
swear,
is.
he's like he betrays Alpha Team, betrays Umbrella, and then portrays a couple other folks, and then he goes ahead and goes back with Umbrella, then portrays them again. It's just like it would just fill with so many things that I was like, okay, who the fuck are you? Like, who is this
Yeah.
guy now? And like I like it was so much, but it the pace of it was decent because it was like, okay, who are you? Okay, cool. I now know who you are. Now I'm invested. Now
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like, who are you? And then you just die off or then you just disappear.
Right.
Like I want to be invested in this, but again, it's like what we talked about in the movie remake episodes. They just throw so much out of it, and they try to think fan service is what we need. No, what we want
Is a good
is
story.
a good story and world building. That's what we want.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a perfect way to put it, is world building.
Exactly.
Take the time to build your world, and then you can build your sandbox, and then you can play in it. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to say it, I guess.
That is a good way to say it. The
Yeah.
other thing is, at least for me, and still to this day, one of the things, like I remember when I was a kid, one of the things that compelled me the most was how frightening playing through a Resident Evil game was. I remember Outbreak. Have you played through Outbreak at all?
I have not, but I know what you mean. Like it's like when you get cornered, it's fucking frightening.
It's scary. I mean, I remember playing them games in the dark with the volume turned up. I mean, it even if you look at the Raccoon City stuff especially, I remember playing through Outbreak because it starts off, you're in Jay's bar and somebody walks in the room and they're a zombie, and of course they don't know that. I mean, it's the start of the outbreak in Raccoon City, and they're boarding up the bar and you're trying to escape. And it, especially with the weird third person camera angles that Resident Evil used to have in those earlier games,
I know that was
um
frightening back then,
it
but
was frightening back then. I know people
it,
look at it now and they're like, that's so stupid. Why did they do that? Y'all will never understand. That was terrifying as a kid, because you can't move when you're trying to run one way and the camera turns the opposite way. You're like, no, 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 no. You know what I mean?
yeah, I gotcha.
But there was something about the original Resident Evil games that, even though you're playing a game and you're in a big city with other characters, it makes you feel very secluded and very alone, and that's the strongest thing, um, you know, feeling wise and gameplay wise. So I think I it makes me excited, him saying that it's going to go back to being scary, and that they want to make it a survival horror movie, not necessarily the action fest, which is what it became in Paul W.S. Anderson's films. Because let's be real, I mean, the last films were not that scary. It was more about the action. It was more
Yeah,
about Alice doing like a roundabout kick off of a skyscraper and kicking like, a tyrant in the face. Like that's what it was,
pretty much.
It
Yeah.
was just, it got kind of wild and crazy. Which, that leads me to, if we're kind of doing a blend of the first and the second game, what monsters are we going to see? Because obviously we're going to have zombies. I mean, the behind the set pictures we've seen of the interstate and that street with the houses, and then the RPD station, we're going to get zombies. We know that. But you have to think, you have lickers, you have hunters, you have the giant snake from the is it 0 or 1?
It happens in a mansion though.
It does, that happens in the mansion. But there's all of the creatures. Plus, if you're doing a blend of the first and second games, and you're gonna have Jill in there, are you gonna have Nemesis in there? Are you gonna have Mr. X? Are you gonna have Tyrant? That's 3 big villains right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because Birkin, who is on that poster, turns into Tyrant when because he's going to Birkin's going to sell the G virus to the US government, and Umbrella's like, no, you will not. And they go to kill him, and he injects himself with the G virus, turning him into the Tyrant. And then you have Mr. X, who goes after Leon and Jill, or Leon and Claire in part 2. And you have Nemesis, who goes after Jill and all the Stars members in part 3 to try to like cover up what Umbrella did. So I'm curious, are we going to see them?
Again, that's too many
I know it's a
villains.
lot. That's what I'm saying. It's a lot. But you can't just leave them out.
Yeah,
At the same time, like that's the problem with this, is if you do a blend of the first two, like it's not enough time to tell the story. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think it almost would make more sense if the first movie was just about the mansion. And you can do, the prologue of the movie in the first 10, 20 minutes is about, people who live in the mountains and on, back roads and stuff. Zombies find their way into their home, and it is about all the weird murders, and it's like a weird X-Files kind of thing. Like, what the hell is going on here? And then you make your way to Bravo team, and then Alpha team finding them and into the mansion, and all of, and then you can end the story that way. I'm really, 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 really curious to see how they handle this like hybrid of the first 2 games. That's my big question, and that's what keeps kind of rolling around in my head.
Yeah, I hope they just name drop these people, show them, but not tell the story.
You
You
hope
know what I
they do
mean?
that?
I hope they just, like, all these characters right here, they're a combination of Resident Evil 1 and 2. I hope I hope that they just name drop them,
Yeah. And
but still focus on the mansion.
I know that like people who go to see the movie may not be diehard fans of the game. So they probably don't care about every single backstory of every single character and every single thing that led up to Umbrella becoming Umbrella, and every single thing that led up to them finding the progenitor virus and the G virus and then making the T virus. They, you know what I mean? Normal everyday people who are just going to see a good horror movie probably don't care.
Yeah.
And that's me being like the diehard Resident Evil fan that's like, but I want to know more. I want to know more. Show me this, show me this, show me this, show me this.
Which is why I think they should stick with the mansion, because the mansion is just it's scary enough.
Right.
Like,
I agree with that.
They don't have to jump in and show all these other things that are happening. They just stick with the mansion and all the freaky shit that's going on in there, and you'll be fine.
Yep. I completely agree. Couple of things that I really want to see, and I know we kind of briefly talked about this. What we want to see, my number one thing, and as I thought about this all day, and I actually, on the way to work, I have 50-minute hour drive to work every day, and I actually was listening to a lot of like the Resident Evil storyline just to like refresh me and just kind of get ideas bouncing in my head. I want to see practical gore, practical effects. I don't want to see CGI gore and CGI monsters. I really don't. And I know we're living in a day and age where there's going to be CGI stuff in there. I know. But did you see World War Z?
I did.
I actually really enjoy that movie. I think the storyline of that movie is phenomenal. I really, really, really genuinely enjoy it. But the zombies were so CGI'd in that movie.
I think the reason why they were so scary is because they ran like fast.
I
Like
mean,
you
yeah,
had like every single one of those people that got bitten by the zombies, bro. They were fucking track stars for some reason
they
because
were.
they just ran fast. That's what
But
made it scary.
even in 28 Days Later, in that Danny Boyle film, I mean, I don't know. For me, like, I don't think there wasn't a point in watching World War Z where I felt scared. I mean, there's points where it's like, oh, like, whoa, yeah, like that was good one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
But there's something about practical effects. I mean, if you look at like the old George Romero films, I mean, even Night of the Living Dead was in black and white, but the practical effects still work. It still works. I mean, and then Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, and even in the Return of the Night or the Return of the Living Dead series, practical effects look good, and you can
Hmm.
make it look really good. But I don't know, CGI'd, man. If it's too much CGI, it just looks wrong. It takes me out of the movie. Like, what I was saying, World War Z, there wasn't a moment where I felt really scared. Have you
Hmm.
seen 28 Days Later?
Yes. Like that one
That
was
movie,
decently.
I have to say, that movie legitimately scares the shit out of me. Wholeheartedly, that movie scares me because it's not CGI. They're so, like, the way the people move in that, it's so like wild and crazy. It's just like you almost don't even have time to react. Like, it's just, they still run, but it's not that CGI'd weirdness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. You may disagree with me on that. I really want to see practical effects
No,
for
I agree
for
with
the
you. I
at
think
least.
practical effects, because as you can see with The Walking Dead, I mean, that's worked perfectly
Yeah.
over the years.
Yep.
And again, like they could totally pull that off. I just don't I don't think CGI is going to work as well, but it's going to practical effects going to be hard whenever if they end up bringing up all these other like um T virus monsters. Like those are going to be
Right.
hard to
Well,
do.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I know the monsters obviously have to be some CGI. I know that. But I mean,
Mhm.
I really I really mean for the zombies. Um and that kind of leads me into my next point here is I want to see zombies done right. I'm real particular about my zombies, man. I really am. I'm particular
Yeah,
about it.
I'm sure that was a great conversation starter in your on your first date with Julia. Just saying.
It was.
You ask her, "What's your type of zombie?" Like, what do you like? Do you like runners? Do you like fanatics or you just like slow ones? Like, I'm gonna judge you right now. And whatever you
Which
answer,
zombie apocalypse story would you be the most scared in?
exactly. But what kind of zombie are you wanting?
I don't I want it to be like the game. I want them to be slow moving, gross, infected people. That's it. I want it to be a classic zombie. I don't want to see anything crazy. Um I want it to be original. I want it to be classic. I want to see practical effects and makeup. I don't want to see CGI, decay and blood and stuff like that. It and I know it worked for World War Z. I think in something like this where it's more of an intimate, darker storyline, I
Mm-hmm.
think you have to go practical, at least for the zombies. Because, and I know that gets hard when you have 200 zombie extras. That's a lot. That's a lot of makeup to, you know what I mean? That's a lot of
That
makeup to
is.
do. I mean, they've talked about that on The Walking Dead before, about how much makeup time that is, but I want to see good zombies. We already talked about this. I want to see characters that actually matter. I don't want to see
Mm-hmm.
throwaway characters like Chris and Leon in Paul W.S. Anderson's series. I didn't like their portrayal. I didn't like how they handled those characters. I felt like I felt like they were a waste. Really, they were just there to be there. I don't want to feel like any of these characters are just there to be there. They've name dropped them on the poster already. They've already shown us that they're gonna be in the movie. I want them to matter throughout the movie. And even if you kill them, make their death matter, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, um, and I hope they explore the Resident Evil lore a little bit more, which I know we've been talking about that. I'm recycling a little bit now, but I want them to explore the lore a little bit more. And I think that's going to be hard doing that with a cross between 1 and 2, because that's a lot of lore you got to get through in a pretty reasonably short amount of time. So
Unless they do like a mini series like with HBO Max's Justice League.
that's true.
Yeah, which I think that's I think that's what they should do, man. I like the idea of a movie, but
I agree.
I think the Resident Evil thing could, which is a hot take for me. I think the Resident Evil should have just been like an HBO Max TV show.
I would be okay with it. I don't know if I would not want Netflix doing it. I don't think I'd want
I don't
Netflix to
either.
do it. I think
I'm not gonna
Netflix
lie.
would be too like, I don't know. I think Netflix would screw it up. But I think something like HBO just picked up The Last of Us, and I think that's the
Mhm.
perfect place to do a Last of Us series, because if you put it on cable, they can't do it justice. But if you put it on Netflix, it's not going to be, Netflix is going to like, I don't know, do something stupid with it. So HBO is the perfect, like, they'll be dark, they'll be gritty. They have the money to put behind it to make it, because that, I mean, something like that takes money. I
Yeah,
think where Resident Evil would get iffy in a TV show is if in the monsters and stuff, like when you get into Nemesis and when you get into the tyrants and things like that, then Resident Evil would get a little, I don't know, it'd get a little weird, because that's a lot of, even in 4 and 5, if they were really to continue it past the Raccoon City incident and things like
yeah.
that, which I assume they would. Um, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of like we said, that's a lot of CGI. That's a lot of practical stuff. That's a
Hey,
whole
man,
lot of work going into that.
it would be like their new Game of Thrones. I'm just saying,
It could be. It really could be.
because
And
in
I
Game of
agree with that.
Thrones, they pretty much they can do
They
zombies.
can. They can do that. And
It's shown that they can.
I don't know. I don't disagree with you. I know you said that's a hot take, but I really don't completely disagree. I think that Resident Evil would work as a TV show, and I think it
Yeah,
could be really well done. And
because you
honestly,
remember,
if this, I don't know. I have high hopes for this. I probably have higher hopes than I should for this. But if this movie blows, I think they need to take it and do a TV series. They need to run with it that way.
yeah, I remember people used to be fearful of things going to TV shows because they thought it was just gonna be dumb. That's not the case anymore. If because like with all these
Yeah.
streaming services getting picked up and they're making episodes,
Mm-hmm.
like it. I mean those are clearly working. If you like a WandaVision,
They
Game of
are. They
Thrones, or
are.
Walking Dead, like those work.
I completely agree. Do you think we'll see sequels from this movie?
Probably.
I'd say without a doubt.
I'm almost certain there will be a definite sequel, but it's just a matter of how far the rabbit hole they'll go in regards to making a sequel if it doesn't succeed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
like
yeah.
like this one will be in the theaters, but then if it doesn't, but if it fails, they'll try a sequel in the theaters. But if that fails, then they'll just start making the straight to
Mhm.
DVDs or straight to streaming service. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What would be cool is if they took this movie and then they adapted all of the games, like if they adapted 4, if they adapted 5, if they adapted 6, and then on to even 7 now where we are. That'd be kind of cool. Just like as
Hmm.
fun one-offs, where you keep it serious, you keep it dark, you keep it gritty, but you can tell that story on the big screen. I'll tell you what, something else that kind of came to my mind was, how cool would it be if, I was trying to find a way to like synthesize in my mind like how this movie could play out, because they're trying to shove so much in. What if the prologue is the Arklay Mountain stuff, the cannibalistic murders happening. The T virus is obviously out. They don't know that yet, but Bravo team goes in. Um, their helicopter crash lands, and then you get the title drop, Resident Evil. After all of that craziness happens, and then you get Alpha Team coming in, finding them. You spend the meat of Act 2 of the movie at the mansion, and then the beginning of Act 3, you find out about Wesker, deceiving them, and you have the Birkin thing that happens where Birkin becomes tyrant, and you can have them fighting Tyrant and all those kinds of things. And then towards the end of Act 3, you skip ahead to 2 months later, where Jill and Chris, and you introduce Leon, you introduce Claire, you introduce all of these, all the characters like together in Raccoon City where the outbreak is starting, and you end the movie on some crazy, massive, like chaotic, the city is falling apart cliffhanger with the Raccoon City incident.
That would work.
That would be kind of cool. The only issue with that is they've name dropped Leon and Claire and Chief Irons, which means the Raccoon City incident is going to have a little bit more play in this than I think my scenario would go down. You know what I mean?
I agree with your theory on how the movie should go. That's pretty much the best way I can think about it.
Yeah.
That helps it from just telling the story of the mansion and then cliffhanging all the way up until Raccoon City, at which point then they'll do the sequel for Raccoon City.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not going to happen because they're going to make Leon and Claire more of a main role, I think. I really do. Or else they wouldn't have. If Leon and Claire were only going to be in the last like 15, 20 minutes of the movie, I don't think they would have plastered their name at the top of that poster.
I know.
You know what I mean? But they did.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to play more of a role. And I really get a feeling it's going to be more of a blend between the first game and the second game and the mansion incident and the Raccoon City outbreak, which again, they take place like a month and a half, 2 months apart from each other. So,
yeah, that's all I can say. But ever since this poster came out.
Yeah, guys, we want to know what you have to say about Resident Evil. What do you think the movie's going to be? Let us know your theories. Let us know your thoughts, your comments. Please, if you would, tweet at us at We Talk the Movies. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment here. Again, let us know what you think. We're trying to build this community. We want to know what you think always with our content. Full episodes drop every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also drop standalone videos on Wednesday and Friday, and we will talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.